There is power in personal stories. It connects us, it empowers us, and it holds us accountable. It creates understanding and expands our perspective. This is Big in the Community with Jonathan James at the Kalamazoo Promise, a podcast aimed to highlight local leaders, collaborators, and innovators in the greater Kalamazoo community. Today, we're joined by Amy Kuchta, a seasoned leader in the nonprofit space and the CEO of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan. With over a decade of leadership and having been a big sister herself for more than 10 years, living out the mission in a very real way. All right, welcome back to another episode of Big in the Community. We have an amazing leader with us here in the room, Amy Kuchta of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan. Welcome.
Thank you.
You mind starting us off with a quote?
Sure. Something that I've really leaned on over the years is a saying, which is you make the best decision you can based on the information you have at the time.
I like that. I'm going to have to write that down and take notes. I know I've shadowed you before, and it was a very enlightening experience of what goes into leadership. So I just want to say thank you for that. I know, like, you had mentioned it, and I was like, really? Like, I can shadow a CEO of a large organization? Like, that's a real thing? So thank you for that. Just wanted to say that.
I was happy to. Glad you took advantage. I occasionally do CEO job shadows at work so that if my staff are interested in learning about some component of being a leader, they can attend, not mandatory. So that's been fun to do as well.
That's awesome. So let's start with your journey. So what brought you into the world of youth mentoring, and what made you stick with it all these years?
Sure. I think mentoring really became important to me, or I realized the importance of it when I was in high school. Had gone through a really rough few years, wound up being removed from the home, being placed in like a group home setting, and there were a couple of people who really poured into me and provided a lot of encouragement and support, which made a huge difference. And then also my sister-in-law and brothers, they were very supportive. So as I began kind of my work journey, I've been in youth services since I graduated from college. I used to be on the what I would call reactive side, which is when I worked in child welfare. And the neat thing about being kind of on the proactive side with Big Brothers Big Sisters is being able to provide additional caring role models for kids in our community, because I know firsthand the difference it makes.
That's awesome. I mean, it's a personal story for you, but also like you've been in almost every role at Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan, going from enrollment and now executive leadership. How did that path prepare you for your current role as CEO?
Sure. So I think when I was in my late 20s and I worked in child welfare in Bloomington, Indiana, I wound up becoming the county supervisor for child welfare. So someone kind of tapped me for that. I didn't necessarily see myself as a leader, but was privileged to take that role. And then we had our daughter. My husband and I moved to Kalamazoo because he's at Western. And I wanted to get back into the services, but not in a director or manager role. I thought, I'd kind of pass that phase of my life. So I started out 20 hours a week doing enrollment for Big Brothers Big Sisters. So interviewing the bigs and the littles and making matches. After a few months, it did grow into a manager and then a director role. So I did that for a number of years. I actually left for a few years and went to Communities and Schools of Kalamazoo. I was the elementary director there for 3 years.
It's a great organization.
It is. I love CIS.
Shout outs to our neighbors.
Fantastic partners. And then came back to Big Brothers Big Sisters late 2012, and a couple months later became the CEO. So I think my expertise in program, not even necessarily specific to Big Brothers Big Sisters, but kind of my comprehensive professional experience kind of really prepared me for this role. I think a lot of times people come into the CEO role and they have program experience or they have fundraising experience, and both of them are valuable and both of them work for the individual. For me, my passion for program and understanding of it, I think, helps me to make sure that we're providing the highest quality services that we can for kids in the community.
So you've lived in Kalamazoo for over 2 decades?
Yeah.
What does it mean to you, like, for this community? What does community mean to you, both personally and professionally?
Sure. I mean, community is everything, right? I know that sounds cliche, but I think one of the things I've been most surprised about and pleasantly surprised about is how supportive and connected the community is, right? So, there's different spheres of how people interact in Kalamazoo, right? You've got like on the family level, if you have kids, it's kind of the school and neighbor level. Then you have like the nonprofit community, which is very large in Kalamazoo. You have, 3 amazing colleges and universities, and then you've got nonprofits. So I find that it's kind of the perfect mix of personal satisfaction and engagement in the community, and then also being able to kind of live that out in my current role. I do think Kalamazoo is a great place to raise kids. My husband and I have a 22-year-old daughter, and not sure that I'm that old, but we have a 22-year-old daughter, and so it's been really neat to raise her in Kalamazoo because it seems like there's a lot to do here, and opportunities for different experiences, are always there.
Now, Kalamazoo it's an interesting town or city. And everybody has a different perspective on it. There's some people who are like, there's so much stuff we need to fix, or there's, plenty of opportunities because they know about them. So there's kind of a weird, like, in between where it's like, how do we get people from, there's nothing to do to there's so much stuff here. There's so many resources. There's lots of opportunities. How do we show them that? And I think Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan does a good job with that.
Things I think we try that's really core to what we do. And even as I was answering the question now, I'm fully aware that there's a lot of inequities in Kalamazoo, right? There's a lot of families that are struggling for housing, food, shelter, safety. And so as I say, hey, it's been a great place to raise my kid, I also want to be very, upfront and knowledgeable about the fact that that's not everybody's experience. That's why I believe in the work so much too, right? So we know the kids in our program are more likely to graduate high school, more likely to have post-secondary education or training. And a report came out from Harvard and the Department of the Treasury saying that kids who are in our program earn 15% more than their non-mentor peers over their lifetime, 20% more likely to have post-secondary training, and then 2/3 of the kids in our program moved up to the next socioeconomic level. So we really saw like an increase in income and, ability to kind of support yourself in a challenging world.
Yeah. So there's plenty of research, there's plenty of proof that it is effective and it's something that we do need.
Yep.
So appreciate the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
What makes Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan unique in its approach to mentoring?
I think a couple things. I think first and foremost, safety. As I mentioned, I come out of the child welfare background, plus my own personal experiences. So for me, child safety is number one. We have a very thorough process before we match volunteers with youth, and we take it very seriously. Every volunteer coming through, we want to make sure that they're going to be safe and appropriate. And so that's a big focus. But then I think the other thing that really sets us apart is the ongoing support, right? So from the day you're matched, you're assigned a staff member who's supporting your match. So once a month, my staff talk with the volunteer, the parent or guardian, and the child. How are things going? Is there any coaching anyone needs? Providing resources either for the family or things for the matches to do. And that continues for the duration of the match. And so, for example, I was matched with my little sister Chloe in late 2012 when she was 8. And we closed the match through BBBS in, what was it? Whenever she turned 18. I'm having a hard time with math this morning. But for those, 10 years, actually, I had to check in with my staff member, the same frequency to make sure. And so I think in terms of infrastructure, some some nonprofits or some agencies don't have the ability to provide the ongoing coaching and support, but that's what sets us apart, which is kind of why it works, right? When you're dealing with people, there always can be, challenges. One of the things we focus on is trying to find opportunities for matches so they don't have to spend money, right? Because I want our volunteers spending time and not money. So we provide a lot of activities. Once again, speaking to the community, there are so many community partners that pour into our matches, right? So they'll contact us, say, hey, I have 10 tickets to this, or, different places we're able to get free entry, like the Air Zoo and the KIA.
Love the Air Zoo and
oh my gosh, so fun. And so I think, really our comprehensive approach for the duration of the match is what sets us apart, and provides, I think, additional comfort to everyone involved in the match, right? They know we're there. And my staff member who do that, the mentoring relationship specialists, that's their whole job, right? And so they're there to walk alongside the match, I always say, for as much or as little as you need them. So I think the safety and then the ongoing support really makes our program work.
Yeah, I think definitely knowing what it is, like you mentioned a lot, like listening to the people, the community, what are the needs, and then also tapping into the community, using those resources that we have a lot of here, and that kind of makes us unique as Kalamazoo. So you've spoken a little bit about how much you admire the passion of your staff, the community. What's one recent moment that reminded you why this work matters?
Sure. It happens actually fairly often. I was in Reno last week for a work conference, and I'm always wearing BBS swag and logos. Drives my family nuts, but I always like to represent. And so I was checking out, I think it was Starbucks, and had a BBS fleece on. And the woman behind the counter said, oh, I love Big Brothers Big Sisters. And I said, oh, are you familiar with us? And she said, yeah, I had a Big for years. She was amazing. It changed my life. And, that happens a lot. Actually, I hear those stories. I remember last year I was in D.C. walking around. I was by the Lincoln Monument, and this man stopped me and said, because he'd seen the BBS logo, and he wanted to tell me his story. So, that happens a lot, which is really heartwarming. Sounds corny, but it is. And then actually most recently, we had 2 match activities, which is when we provide an opportunity for matches to get together to do, something in the community that we cover the cost of. And I had a chance to be at both of those, just trying to help out a bit. And, I know this is going to sound silly, but as I was watching the matches interact, it felt like family, right? Which is like, of course, Amy, this is Big Brothers Big Sisters. But it really resonated with me how connected and comfortable, the matches were together. And you had a range. You had, a match who'd been together about 4 months, and you had a match that had been together 8.5 years. So, that was just super fun to see. So yeah, it's really, I hear about it frequently when I'm in the community, or my staff do. And then also to experience it one-on-one is just fantastic.
It's a nice reminder to see why the work matters. Every once in a while, there's just like you get kind of tired of, just emails, meetings and whatnot. But then you're out, you're wearing your Promise hoodie, and then somebody says, oh, do you work for the schools? Do you, what is that? And then you're like, no, I work for the Promise. And then they start talking about how someone there is a Promise recipient. And then you're like, oh, where are they going to school for? And like, that kind of is, I think you said, like, it's kind of like a light bulb moment where you're like, oh, like it kind of lights you up and kind of like reignites that fire that you have for the work that you're doing. So
absolutely. And that's why I'm always wearing the BBS swag, because I'm proud of it. I'm proud of our agency, and I'm proud of the Big Brothers Big Sisters program nationally, and plus it makes it easy to figure out what I'm going to wear for the day.
Right. Right. So you serve on national leadership councils and boards. How does Kalamazoo's BBS work stand out on a national scale?
Sure. So for the last about 5 years, I've had the privilege of serving on BBS of America's Nationwide Leadership Council. So basically, you have BBS of America, and then you have affiliate agencies. So we're kind of like McDonald's, right? Like each area has their own agency, but you still follow the same standards and guidelines. The Nationwide Leadership Council is the governing body between the two. So my role is to represent all of the agencies, in partnership with BBBS of America to make sure we're in alignment and, everything is moving along as it should. And so it's been an honor to serve on that. I think our local agency, we're like pretty scrappy, right? Mm-hmm. That's a fun word
to punch
say.
Above our weight. That's
yeah,
what
exactly.
Say about Kalamazoo.
Yeah, so there's different agency sizes in the United States. So there's like the small agency alliance, the mid to large agency alliance, which is what we're in, and then there's a large agency alliance. And the size of alliance depends on like budget, number of kids you serve, but a couple of my friends in the network tease me and say that I have large agency energy, right? I guess one example I'm really proud of is last year the staff came up with the Paint the Town Green campaign. And this was really a grassroots effort to spread the word about the importance of mentoring, right? So our colors for BBBS are green and black. So they came up with the idea to paint the town green, which would be asking, everyone in the community to wear green or, do something, whether it's green food or green cocktails, that sort of thing, to kind of get the word out. And it was fantastic. For our first year, we had over 70 partners. And Kalamazoo Promise was great. They kind of wore their shirts. City Hall, lights turned green. Dessert First made green cupcakes. And the neat thing is we also, though, didn't get any revenue from any of that. When people see me coming, they expect me to ask for a donation, which they're pretty much right. But the fun thing for this was I was able to say, I'm not here to raise money at all. And then people are like, oh, how can we support? So it was super fun. People loved doing it. A lot of creativity in the community. We didn't really have a whole lot of guidelines you had to follow, really. It was just, here's the time frame. Don't try and raise money. And, here's the logo. And so a lot of agencies in the country saw that last year. So this year, about 13 or 14 agencies participated.
That's awesome.
Oh my God, they had a blast. And we, what we did is we shared all the collateral though for free, but I had some ground rules, right? Which is not a fundraiser, has to be the same week, right? Because if we're going to get synergy, it needs to be at the same time and you can't change the logo. And so, the agencies that participated this year had a blast, and I've already had inquiries for next year. So my goal ultimately is nationally for when people see green, they're going to think of Big Brothers, Big Sisters, right? Kind of like red for heart health and pink for breast cancer awareness. So that's been fun. A lot of national recognition for that. And then this is silly, but I'm a Swiftie, and so I'm mortified to admit that. But last year I was going to the conference, and I was like, I'm going to get Taylor a BBBS shirt. And my staff were like, if anybody can, it's going to be you, but it's not going to happen, right? So we did a campaign that some of my the other agencies shared, which is me saying, hey, here's what where I'm sitting at the concert. Would love to get you a shirt. And so people in the country were kind of laughing at that. Didn't work. Of course, Travis was able to do a shout out to Taylor on his podcast. So maybe this podcast will have success, and Taylor will let me send her a shirt. So
we can make that happen. I hope so.
That'd be great.
Promise started here, then it got national, maybe we could make something happen. We'll have to talk to Yvonne and see if he could pull some strings, know.
That'd be great.
Maybe the Pistons can shout us out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is amazing, like how community can come together like that. Just to, give back to the people who support their business, that corporate social responsibility, is something like it's surprising how many people will actually lean into that and say, you know what, yeah, like we'll help with that. We'll make some green cupcakes. We'll make some green drinks, we do it for St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. Why not do it for a good cause? But anyway, so as a resident and a longtime community partner of the Kalamazoo Promise, how does Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Southwest Michigan and the Promise intersect in creating opportunity for youth?
Sure. I think I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of communities and schools, right? And so we partner with CIS a lot, with the hope that then the kids we're serving can take advantage of the Kalamazoo Promise, right? So we have some programming at schools called Lunch with Littles. We have a program at Woodward and a program at Prairie Ridge. looking to expand those. And so really my goal is to prepare kids so that they can take advantage of the Kalamazoo Promise. And we partner with CIS on that. In those buildings, we work with the CIS site coordinator to get mentoring services to kids. So to me, it's just kind of, while it's not a direct connection, there's a correlation there that, I want to make sure that our kids could take advantage of, this great resource.
Yeah. I mean, they're all connected,
right?
In some type of way. If kids don't get the proper early education, then they're not ready for K through 12. Then they're not ready when they get, fast forward 12 years, they're not ready for post-secondary.
Right.
And so that's one of those, like, you have to see the big picture.
Yep.
And it's a little more difficult for people to buy in we need like from birth to, at least 18 when you're about to get ready for school. But then it's like, oh, wait, we actually need support then too.
Yep.
That's one of the scariest parts where people go from, at home to this is their first like taste of freedom. And like, you're on your own. And it's like, kind of like a shock of, oh, like this is what the real world is like, but you're still like on campus. So it's the real world, but it's not like the real world yet. So anyway, I don't know what tangent I was going on, but.
Well, no, and actually there is a national program model called Big Futures. And so we stop at 18 or graduation from high school. But the Big Futures program, I think, continues mentoring support through age like 23. So that is something I would like to look into doing, because you make a good point, right? Like kids can be doing great all the way through, but then college or, even just being on your own, working a job, whatever it is after high school, like a lot can go wrong, and not to say that we can solve everything, but, I mentioned those mentors I had earlier in this conversation, and like, they helped me transition to freshman year in college. I mean, one of them helped me move in. One of them went to like parent weekend with me. And, I was ridiculous during freshman year of college. It's the same thing. I was like, hey, I'm 17. I'm on campus. I don't have anyone telling me what to do. And like, thank God I had these touch points to be like, Amy, like dial it in, and you need to be focusing. So I definitely also think I made it through college, because of them. But that pivotal year, right, is freshman year or first year after, you've gotten your high school diploma and you're out working. So.
I have some family who they do like respite foster care, but they specifically do like 15 to 18-year-olds.
Yep.
And because like that's the group that people are least likely to take in.
Yep.
But they've had youth who like have been with them for that time, but they still are there for them afterwards. Like, hey, like, did you get checked into your dorm? Like, they'll take them. They can come home. Like, it's not you're done.
Right.
It's like you can still come home. Like over the summer, over break. Like you're part of the family. So it is important for when like people don't have that.
Absolutely.
So that's like those are the things that like not the average person thinks of. When it comes to support for youth or students or post-secondary education, it's like, people don't have anywhere to go in between during break and stuff. And that takes a toll on you if you're already stressed about school. And then it's like, wow, I'm here all by myself during winter break, or the dorm is closed. I can't even stay here. What do I do? Those are things that aren't typically talked about because everybody assumes, oh, you just go home for the holidays.
Right.
Well, what if you can't do that?
Right.
So anyway, I'm just going on tangents today.
It's all good.
What's your vision for deeper collaboration between nonprofits and different initiatives, like say like the Promise moving forward?
Sure. So would I love BBBS to be the mentoring agency for everyone in the community? Sure. I don't think we need to be the mentoring agency. So in terms of like collaboration, one of my goals is for us to be able to provide expertise and resources so other mentoring programs can occur, right? So we're pretty dialed in on what our program model is. Our community-based program, 2 hours twice a month for a year. Our lunch program is twice a month for the school year. But we don't necessarily do group mentoring yet. My vision is to get into group mentoring. We're dabbling in that in Battle Creek, which has been fun. So I'd like to add some group mentoring so we can get to more kids, but also I remember years ago when different agencies would want to get into mentoring that was different than our model, like we would just go out and do training, right? Because my big thing is safety, number one. So if we can sit down with an agency that wants to do mentoring, I'm not going to be like, well, hey, why aren't we doing it? It's going to be like, how can we support that? Because there's a lot of stuff people don't think about, right? Going into any sort of interaction with kids. And so if we can provide the expertise and resource and support, it doesn't have to be us, right? And so I think that's kind of my vision is every kid has an additional caring role model, right? Every child needs that, regardless of background or challenges. So to me, it'd be great if they don't need us 30 years from now, right? Because every kid has what they need. But we know that may not be the case.
Yeah, I think it's funny because, I mean, it's a serious subject,
right.
But it's funny that if every nonprofit like accomplished their mission and vision,
we'd be out
it
of
wouldn't
business.
be needed anymore.
Yep.
So it's kind of you can't just solve most of the issues and problems that nonprofits are trying to accomplish. They can't just be solved like that.
Right.
They're ongoing problems that keep happening. But I think a lot of nonprofits, their vision is kind of tailored more of that these things are available, or like these supports are available to everyone here.
Yep.
And that's what we see. That's what we want for the community. So anyway, I don't know where all this stuff is coming from.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you're talking about nonprofit services, it can go a lot of directions, right?
Yeah.
And I think because it's so integral to the community, and there's so many great nonprofits out there doing great work. And that's why I like for us to support each other, right? Whenever we can, and not, ask for resources for it, like talking about Paint the Town Green, right? Like I didn't bill any other agencies who want to do it. I'm like, here's our collateral. Let's get on a call. Right. We trained you. Some of my staff were like, you should have charged some. And I'm like, that's not how this works, right? We're part of an affiliate or part of part of a network. And then being able to do that locally too, so that feels good. And that I feel like then we are adding value to the community in a different way.
And I think even as a partner for Paint the Town Green, it like everything that you sent was like made it so easy to do it. Like the press kit, the yard signs, stickers, like all those different things. It was like, oh, this gave us everything we needed. Like it wasn't like we really had, like we did a little bit of work, but like everybody put on a t-shirt, we're going to take a picture. And
we did try and make it as easy as possible, right? Because sometimes people say, well, I don't have time for it. I'm like, it's okay. I'm like, are you on social? Yes. Can you hold a piece of green paper? Yes. You know what I mean? And so it's really, I still want to get the word out that it's not as complex as people think it is. But like I said, I watch so many businesses just have fun with it, and it was great to see so much community support step up and excitement about it.
No, that's awesome. So you've been matched with your little for over 10 years. Yeah. How has that relationship shaped your own life and leadership?
Sure. I got matched to Chloe. My daughter and I actually got matched to her back in 2012. I had just come back to Big Brothers Big Sisters, but I wasn't the director yet. And we got matched in our big family model. My husband does a lot of research on the weekends. He's an academic. And so my daughter and I would have mommy-daughter time, which she's going to kill me for saying this if she listens to this. But, I said to her, why don't we mentor a child together? And she was like, sure. So, my daughter was 9 and Chloe was 8. We got matched, and we'd go out, every other week and do something they both enjoyed doing. One of the things I didn't mention about our program model earlier is we do what's called intentional matching, right? Which is also why it works. So let's say if you were going to be a big brother, we don't match you automatically to the kid who's been waiting the longest. What my staff does is says, oh, okay, here's Jonathan's interests. Here's where he lives. Like, we're really intentional about matching so that you can have a solid friendship, right? Like, are their interests the same? Are their goals the same? And so it was a perfect match with Chloe, very much like my daughter, neither of them are into sports. They like museums and that sort of thing. And so it was great. And it's, it's interesting interesting. The first few years, it was always my daughter and I and Chloe. And then as Chloe got older, it was more just her and I, right? Because I think there were conversations she wanted to be able to have. And, her and my daughter are still friends, like on Instagram or whatever. But it's just been amazing to watch Chloe grow. And she's just smart and mature, right? And like has been for a long time. Sometimes I'll talk to her about stuff at work. I mean, nothing confidential, but here's what I'm going through. And she always asks like the most insightful questions, So yeah, it's been great. I mean, I've told her I'm here till she doesn't want to be matched to me anymore, right? Like we're not officially matched through the agency, but I still see her at least once a month, and I'm here as long as she wants me to be. So
that's awesome. It's just a really good story, like to see that, like even beyond like just the match itself, like it's just a relationship where you care. I think that's one of the most important things that you guys do, like even through like a process and programming, there's still like a heart behind it. You've said before, if you have the time to be a big, do it.
Yep.
Can you speak to the need for volunteers right now? And who can be a big? What does that process look like?
Sure. So, right now we have over 100 kids waiting for big, which means they've been interviewed and they're kind of ready to be matched as soon as we find the right volunteer. There's no like order of matching or anything like that. It is all based, as I mentioned, on, it being the best match. We have a couple different programs, right? So we have Lunch with Littles, and I think that's really good for working professionals who are in proximity to one of our partner sites. So in that program model, let's say if you were matched, you're in close proximity to Woodward. So you would be matched with the little brother. You go over there during the lunch period, like every other week for like 45 minutes. And you don't bring them lunch. I hadn't even thought to clarify that. And someone was like, do you bring them lunch? I'm like, no, because that's not what the relationship's about. You might pack your lunch. They get their lunch. We have a big toolkit of activities and games. We have a binder. And so basically you're just there to hang out, talk with them. You're not a tutor. You're a friend and a mentor. And so that program is really, really growing. Numbers are great. And I think we'll continue to see that because, if you get an hour for lunch, 5 to 7 minutes over there, get checked in, 40 minutes, you're back at work within an hour roughly. So with all of our program models, I want to remove barriers, right? And so to me, that works really well. And I'm excited because like downtown, I mean, this could really explode. And then our other program model really has to do with matches that take place in the community, right? But it can happen different ways. We still have the same parameters on time and commitment, right? So in any of our community-based program models, it's 2 hours twice a month for a year. But you can mentor individually. My daughter and I mentored together. You can mentor with your whole family. We have a program called Big Duos where like, you and a friend, or it could be you and a relative, right? Mentor together. And once again, trying to remove those barriers while still remaining true to program quality, right? I'm not going to do mentoring light, we're going to do it the right way. Then we do actually have another program called Sports Buddies, which is a little bit different. That's actually just a 6-month commitment. And that's a program model where, once again, you'd be matched with the little brother, but you would meet them at an activity that our staff arranges that's sports related, right? So you might go see a baseball game, and then you guys might learn how to climb at Climb Kalamazoo, right? So trying to really grow that program, because men, I hate to be gendered, but a lot of men are a little nervous about mentoring, and so we figure if we can bring people together around sports, that's a fun way.
Yeah, for guys, we bond. Doing something together, not just like, hey, let's go for a walk. Like like I can, but usually most of my friendships and stuff, like we're doing something. We're either playing a game or playing basketball or something like that. So it makes sense that you would adopt a program that does that.
Yeah. Well, and it drives my staff nuts, but like if they bring me a program idea, I'm like, has anyone else done this before? Right? Not to say we won't, but I want to make sure it's evidence-based, right? And so when I first heard about Sports Buddies a couple of years ago, I'm like, no, that sounds terrible. We're not doing it. And then, a couple agencies started, and I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. I just, there's so many different ways we can serve kids. I want to make sure, not that we can't be the first one to test something, but, if someone else has tried it and it's worked, let's take a look at that.
Yeah. No, there's I remember my family, we talked about like being a big family, and I didn't realize like we had just had a kid.
Right.
Like we just had, our he's now 3. And we were going through the process, and we ended up not going through with it, and then later found out like, oh, we wouldn't have been able to at the time because I think you guys, like, if there's a huge life change, then like, okay, let's wait a little bit, sort of thing. And it was a good idea because it is a lot.
Well, I think, that's why we want to be so mindful and direct about it, right? Because the last thing I want to do is introduce mentors to a kid and have them not follow through, right? Mm-hmm. Not to say you wouldn't, but I mean, I think a lot of times people are like, oh, this is going to be really easy. And I'm not saying it's not easy, but it's a commitment, right? Yeah. At least once a year when I'm out with Chloe, she'll bring up the fact that she was actually matched to a big sister prior to me. And so she was like 7. Big sister came, took her out once, never came back, never called. And like Chloe still remembers that. So that's why we try to be really thorough about, and I'll say to people, like, we're not going anywhere, right? So if now is not the time for you, please wait, because I just don't want to do that, to a kid. So yeah, if there's any like big things, events going on in someone's life, like they just moved here and got married, and they, like maybe now isn't the best time, to do that. So, in that case, we will try and say, hey, can you come back at 6 months, that sort of thing, because we also want the volunteers to have a great experience, right? We don't want you guys to get matched and be like, oh my God, like, I don't know if I can do this. And then you feel guilt, and then there's avoidance. So,
yeah. Are there any myths that you'd like to bust about mentoring?
Yes. My biggest pet peeve is people assuming that we serve bad kids who come from bad homes, right? I think that's a trope that people lean into, right? Because then it's like, oh, I can save them. That's not right, right? So I've been in youth services since 92, which I can't believe I'm saying that. And I've done child welfare, I've done everything. And what I can say is I don't think there's any bad parents, bad kids, bad homes, right? I think there are kids who make decisions that aren't the best for themselves, right? I think families do the best that they can. And so we really try and fight that savior complex. And so something we always do locally is talk about an additional caring role model. I will say other BBBS agencies say, no one cares about this kid, they need a mentor. And I'm like, okay, that's really crummy. First of all, their parent or guardian is enrolling them, right? The kids want to be in the program. And so, that's the first thing. I really try and like push back against that narrative. And then the other one is the amount of time. People are like, oh, do I have to spend 5 to 10 hours a week with them? No, in fact, we don't want you spending 5 to 10 hours a week with them. That's not your role. So I find the most success when I can get eyeball to people and just say, not bad kids, not bad homes. I'm not asking you to adopt them, and so that's the thing. But like I said, even nationally, some agencies push that narrative, and it just drives me nuts because I don't think it's fair to our kids and families.
Right. No, that makes sense. You've dedicated decades to youth advocacy. I'm not trying to age you or anything.
No, yeah.
It's good. It's amazing that you've done that. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave?
Wow.
It's a big question. Sorry.
Yeah. I was thinking recently about programming and thinking about how we help our kids, right? And I was thinking about the fact that like these people poured into me, and now I've been able to help probably thousands of kids, not directly, right, but through my work. And so I was just thinking about the exponential reach that our programming is going to have. So it's not about me, Amy Kuchta, but it's like, wow, think of how many kids' lives we're touching that, extrapolating it out is going to be thousands and thousands of people. So that's, that's important to me.
That's good. Outside of work, you've got some interesting hobbies, road cycling, pickleball, to a love for post-apocalyptic fiction. How do you recharge as a leader?
All of those, which, I'm a freak, I know. I haven't gotten to do cycling or pickleball as much. I'm old and had an injury, so hoping to get back to that. It's really hard to unwind as a leader and disconnect. I read as well, but it's kind of, I don't know if you're in a leadership position, if you ever really turn it off. I find getting out of town helps because if I'm in town, I'm typically running into somebody I know. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a growth area for me and for everybody. Yeah, but the post-apocalyptic stuff is
what got you into that?
I don't know, but it's funny. A couple of my staff will still talk about the fact that like February 2020, I was like, you guys need to go buy groceries. You need to do this. And they were like, whatever, and now they were like, oh yeah, you forced that coming just because I've read so much about it. And yeah, it's a bizarre interest and I'm aware of that. So very bizarre.
No, it's cool. It's not that crazy.
It kind of is. But.
If you had a final message that you want to leave with our listeners about the power of mentoring or the importance of showing up for people, what would that be?
I think the key word's showing up, right? It's kind of like with parenting or mentoring, just being present in the moment, I think is the big thing. As I say that, I know I'm often not. I'm on my phone, but I think just spending time being present and listening to someone, it doesn't even have to be a kid, right? Mentoring can be peers or, adults. So I think being present, especially in the age of social media and all of that, is the most important thing.
No, that's good. How can people learn more or contact BBBS Southwest Michigan? Sure.
Our website is great, I think. It's thinkbigtoday.org. Or our phone number is 269-382-6800. Sorry, it took me a minute. I was going to give you my cell phone number, which is fine too. But yeah, I think our website's probably the best way, and it talks about all the different program models, and then we can follow up once people express interest, but also happy to return phone calls.
I'm always impressed when people can say the phone number or the website. I'm like, kalamazoopromise.com, maybe. No, no, but thank you so much for being here. Do you have any questions for us? That's just give you an opportunity in case you do.
No. I mean, okay. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Anytime I get the word out about mentoring, it's a home run. So, just super grateful and thankful to be involved.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If you have time to be a big, do it.